They say you shouldn't take a job that pays double the market rate for half the work. But when your bank account is a graveyard of insufficient funds notices, you stop looking for red flags. You start looking for a lifeline. I was the third guard hired in a single month. They didn't tell me what happened to the first two. They just handed me a heavy flashlight, a set of rusted keys, and a single chilling warning.
Stay in the guard room after midnight. Whatever you hear, it's just the pipes.
The warehouse was a monstrous 5-story shell in the industrial district. A former garment factory, they said. Now it was just a graveyard for rusted machinery. My office was a tiny glass booth at the far corner of the lot. During the day, the silence was heavy. I'd sit there, scrolling through my phone, watching the dust motes dance in the afternoon sun. It was the easiest money I'd ever made. But the locals, they made it feel expensive. I went to the corner shop for coffee. The manager, a man who looked like he hadn't slept since the factory closed in the 90s, stopped mid-count when he saw my uniform.
"You the new one?"
he asked. I nodded. He leaned in, his eyes darting to the warehouse across the street.
"Did they tell you why the heat never works in that corner? Or why the birds don't land on the roof?"
Before I could answer, he shoved my change across the counter and turned away.
"If you hear the sewing machines, don't go looking for the thread."
On night 4, the easy money ended. It started on the 3rd floor, a wall of sound, screaming. Not one person, but hundreds, all shouting in a language of pure terror. I grabbed my flashlight and ran. I hit the 3rd floor landing, my beam cutting through the dark, and the silence returned instantly. Then it started again. But this time, the floor beneath my feet was vibrating. The screaming was coming from the basement. The next night, I saw it. The south corner was glowing. An orange, hungry light was pouring out of the windows. I sprinted toward it, but as I turned the corner, I tripped. I fell hard. My flashlight rolled away, illuminating something in the dirt. I crawled toward it, thinking it was a pipe. It was a bone, a human femur charred black at the joints. I looked up. The fire was gone. The south corner was dark, cold, and silent. There was no smoke, no heat, just me, the dark, and a piece of someone who shouldn't have been there. I didn't wait to see if the rest of the skeleton was there. I locked myself in my room and prayed for the sun. I must have fallen asleep in my booth. I woke up to the sound of the world ending.
Help us! The doors are locked! Water, please!
I threw open the booth door and the heat hit me like a physical blow. The warehouse was an inferno. I saw them, hundreds of women, their clothes smoking, their faces blurred by the heat, rushing toward the fire exits. I reached for my phone to call 911, but when I turned back to my booth, there was no booth. There was no phone. I was standing in a sea of ash. Piles of charred remains were stacked where my chair had been. I was standing in a mass grave that hadn't been covered yet. They found me fainted at the gates. My lungs were scorched with soot, even though the air was clear. Before I left that district forever, I went back to that shopkeeper. He finally told me. In the 90s, the factory owners had chained the fire exits to keep the girls from taking breaks. When the boiler blew, 200 workers were trapped in the south corner. They didn't die quickly. They died screaming for the water that never came. I didn't go back for my bedding. I didn't go back for the paycheck. Because now I know why the pay is so high. You aren't being paid to guard the machinery. You're being paid to be the only living soul in a room that belongs to 200 others.